All right, good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Sean Callan.
Here.
Julie Chetney.
Here.
Tom Chaplin.
Here.
David Cursifoli.
Here.
Jim McKenzie's here. Chris Norfleet.
Here.
Sean Onmock.
Here.
And our student representative is at a game tonight. So if we can please rise for the pledge. Okay, so there is nobody signed up for the floor to the public. So next on the agenda is our acknowledgements with Kristen.
Thank you. We're going to start at Fitzhugh Park. On Tuesday, November 26th, all of our FPS students participated in our first Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports, PBIS, Celebration Day. Students were rewarded with their excellent classroom behavior and following expectations with an afternoon of fun activities. Students rotated between 3 different teacher holiday activities. A fun time was had by all our students, and we're looking forward to our next PBIS Celebration Day in February. Then moving to Layton, Donnie the Doodle visited 4 deserving classrooms as they were the classrooms that achieved perfect attendance for at least 8 days during the month. All students in Ms. Sesselman's 2nd graders, Ms. Watson's 3rd graders, and Ms. Lau and Ms. McCann's kindergarten classrooms all enjoyed time spent with Donnie. Also at Layton, Constellation's Women in Nuclear once again visited to donate nearly 30 brand new winter jackets for students in need. This has been an ongoing effort over the years to ensure that all students are warm and equipped for the Oswego winters. Layton thanks Constellation and the Women in Nuclear for their generosity. I noticed in that picture too, our volleyball coach, Sarah Storrs, is there. Charles Riley, in November, our kindergarten performed their annual production of Stone Soup, complete with costumes and 2 performances, one for our school and one for our parents. We enjoyed a soup meal and many accolades for this huge accomplishment. Also at Riley, the school held their first ever bingo for books. This was a widely participated event with over 220 students and families who gathered together for a spirited evening. 3 rounds of bingo were held, along with several other events taking place throughout the building, such as the therapy dog, an art project, pictures with the hockey team, community organizations such as the police department, the fire department, the mayor, a councilman, the bookmobile, as well as SUNY men's hockey team. Our theme was literacy, and books were the main prize, along with a donated giveaway of a hockey jersey, tickets, and a stick. Many thanks to all participating sponsors, parents, staff, and students for making this such a successful event. Then on to Minetto, where we recently celebrated a vibrant Secret Spirit Week that fostered camaraderie among staff while keeping students guessing. Each day featured a unique theme, such as Monday Blackout, Toasty Tuesday, Arg Matey Wednesday, and Crocs and Socks Thursday. On Friday, the faculty wore their comfy clothes, but were not allowed to drink out of cups. Instead, they creatively used unconventional items for drinking. This playful initiative not only uplifted school spirit, but also engaged students in a delightful mystery as they tried to decipher the themes throughout the week. At the middle school, members of our faculty and staff worked together to bake 20 pies for the Salvation Army. A special thank you to Christina Taylor for coordinating the event. And at the high school, congratulations to Oswego High School students who attended the New York State All-State this past weekend, including Miles Bandla, Lucas Braun, Nathan Carr, Nathaniel Cliff, Daniel Dunn, Gianna Ellingwood, Isabel Fiorito, Chloe Helmer, Nathan Hibbert, Sophia Croft, Leonard Lynn, Mackenzie Matat, Kian McCarthy, August McDonald, Leah Norton, Margaret O'Leary, Yana Paneria, Grant Romanowski, Myra Roper, Josiah Rutolo Khan, Andrew Shaver, Wendy Thompson, Aiden Town, Xavier Vasquez, Zachary Willis, Nick Sorrell, Romello Velasquez. And that is our tour around the district.
Great. Thank you very much, Kristen. Next, we have a couple items under the Board of Education. So the first one is a resolution to adopt an amendment of a contract as presented. So if I can have a motion, please.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, David. Any discussion? Haven't heard none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Second item is the 2024 boys basketball trip. So if I can get a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second? Thank you, Sean. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up is the superintendent's report. Dr. Kilmer.
Thank you. A couple of items. First, bring to your attention, there's an 11 by 17 budget calendar in front of all of you. This is our draft 25-26 budget calendar. Yes, it is that season already. I will bring this to you for official approval at our January 7th meeting, but I wanted to bring this to your attention now. We are already in the throes of budget season. We are meeting with all building level principals and all of our heads of departments this week and next week, asking for what their requests are, what their needs are for the future year. So we're well in the swing of budget season already. Any questions on the budget calendar? Okay, like I said, I'll bring this back on the 7th for official approval, so if there's something in the meantime, please let me know. Sticking with budget, I think you all are aware that the Rockefeller Institute issued their findings to the state just last week. It is a light 314-page document that you are free to peruse at any time. But there's a couple of things that I want to highlight, and it is something that we should talk more about, and as the state engages more in the recommendations as well, I'll bring more to you. But I want to read a portion of that report. And if you have a chance, at least if you read the foreword and the executive summary, I think it'll give you a really good sense of the position of the Rockefeller Institute, and again, the goal of trying to fix some of the issues that have been part of funding in New York State for many years. But one part that I just want to read to you, many of the recommendations in this report are developed and priced out in isolation from each other. In most cases, each component of the foundation aid formula is examined for improvement opportunities on its own, and an impact is measured as if only that element is changed. It's recognized, of course, that elements in foundation aid formula, at the very least, interact with each other, and sometimes even may be fully dependent on one another. There's also no way to know which recommendations state policymakers might eventually approve or enact, or how districts may behave after having been given revised options. So there's simply no practical and reliable way to predict the final outcome of reform proposals or to calculate every permutation of their collective impact. And then just a little bit farther down, they emphasize, one, that there needs to be multiple year phase-in. It's an important part. It's not something that can fix overnight. And two, that any changes that are made should be transparent and done in a manner that allows districts to plan for and adjust proposed amendments. This document is dense. There are a lot of recommendations that will absolutely impact education funding in New York State for years to come. But again, as of right now, the Rockefeller Institute recommendation is just that. It's a recommendation. And no one really knows what direction the state will take. And so you might hear individuals picking certain recommendations out of the Rockefeller Institute, but until we see direction, I think it's good to just digest what the recommendations were, and then know that we'll hear a great deal more in the coming months and years ahead. But for the 25-26 fiscal year, we're not going to see significant changes in foundation aid. Just yesterday, for 25-26, correct? Yeah. So just yesterday, the Board of Regents voted on their proposal to send to the state. They're asking for an increase in foundation aid. They've hit the main priorities, and many of the priorities that state ed has is reflected in the Rockefeller Institute as well. So there's a lot of positive that will ultimately come out of it, but I just also don't want there to be a great deal of concern that there's going to be this great shift within the next 6 months. That's not going to happen. But it is important for people to take time to educate themselves on it. So again, if you just read that forward and the executive summary, I think that's a great place to start and will give you a really good sense and understanding of where the Rockefeller Institute priorities were and their approach to it. Any questions on Rockefeller or budget? Okay. Then on to regionalization. So regionalization conversation has been something that the state has been talking about for a great deal of time. And there is a difference between regionalization and consolidation. We are not talking about consolidation. What the state has asked districts to do, and this came out over the summer and a great deal of work happened early in the fall, was to complete a survey tool of strengths and weaknesses. And its premise was to utilize that tool in regions to facilitate a conversation about how districts can collectively work together. Now, it's interesting, in Oswego County, we already do that a lot. And so it's not as if this was a new conversation for us. The superintendents, the assistant superintendents, we meet regularly and we're constantly talking about ways in which we can help and work with each other. That's not the case across the state. And the regionalization conversation was really a way to ensure that all students had access, right? So sometimes we have districts that are very small, do not have means, maybe they don't have access to certain extracurriculars, they don't have access to certain advanced coursework. Well, the regionalization conversation was meant as a way to try to find ways where districts could partner to benefit students, right? It's that, we've talked about it over and over, student first, that student lens. The district, Amanda, her team, and others did a great deal of work to try to complete this tool. And then we received notice from the state that the districts were no longer obligated to submit this, and that it was really, should be a conversation at the board level as to whether or not to participate. Now you might say to yourself, why would the state suddenly come out and kind of change course? And that was the memo that you have in front of you. That's that state ed memo. There was a great deal of pushback in this conversation about regionalization. Not in this area, definitely not in Oswego County or of any of the meetings that I've ever been involved in. If anything, we said, and I'm not sure where everyone else has been, but this is the work that we've been trying to do for years. But it really was, there's a lot of pushback from certain districts because they felt as though the state was trying to mandate something, to take power and autonomy away from districts and forcing districts to participate in things that they may not wish to participate in. And so this memo came out right around Thanksgiving time that gave districts the authority, working with their board, as to whether or not to participate. It is my recommendation, it's done and submitted, that we absolutely participate because it's what's right for kids. Regionalization is what's right for kids, right? Because it looks for ways to partner, share resources, and benefit students. And so I am 100% behind participating. But it was imperative, based on state ed's and the commissioner's memo here, that we had that conversation at the board level. And so before January 15th, when we have to submit written notification that we no longer wish to participate, I wanted to have that conversation with you to see if you had any objections to participating in that conversation regionally. And again, that's with the city district superintendent and the 9 component districts, and it's just us. It's not statewide, but it's really focusing on our region. But I wanted to make sure I gave you the opportunity to understand the background behind it, to see if anyone had their own reservations in us participating.
So would an example be like, for instance, the multi-school hockey team that we're running, or the fact that we had a student who did gymnastics with Central Square? Is that an example?
So
of what you're
that's an
talking about,
example
or are you
of,
talking about something else?
no, so that is absolutely an example of the extracurricular and/or athletic. But another example, P-TECH. P-TECH is something that is countywide. We all have students that are participating. These are students that are receiving advanced coursework. We have a student who's graduating from OCC on December 15th from Oswego as a part of P-TECH. That's us coming together saying we want to find ways to provide this advanced level coursework, more opportunity for kids, right? So it's looking for those creative opportunities. And it doesn't have to be only through, we often use BOCES as the primary vehicle. We're also looking for other ways, because there is participation outside of just BOCES being the intermediary. There are absolutely opportunities, for instance, in Fulton and Hannibal, they partner outside of just the BOCES as well. We're always looking for ways to partner. We just had last week an Oswego County Superintendent's Retreat, and the focus of our conversation was partnership. What are the ways in which we can support one another, support our students together, and utilize our resources together, again, to benefit kids?
Maybe there's something already in place, but would it be realistic for us to receive a summary of some of this engagement and development, with the other school districts in Oswego County over a certain period of time, like every 6 months or something? Like, it's interesting, and I think that we'd support your recommendation to stay in it, but it'd be nice to learn what's being talked about and the progress being made by that group.
Yeah. Well, you know what I'll do is I'll ask for a board report at some point in the spring, really talk about many of the BOCES programs, P-TECH in particular, some of the others. I think that you would be really excited to see all of the great work that's happening in and around the county.
Is this tool being used for the first time this year?
Brand new.
Okay. So we don't know how they'll use, is there any indication about how they're going to use that information? Like why they're asking?
It was a way to facilitate the conversation in the region, right? I feel as though, and this is me kind of hypothesizing, right? There are many areas of the state where this wasn't a natural conversation. Where here, it was a very natural conversation. That this wasn't anything new, right? But what it did do, right, it made us develop a system where we were a little bit more reflective on some of our strengths and needs that helped us to move the conversation forward. So the tool is really just a survey, a reflective survey that will be utilized at the district level, meaning Superintendent Chris Todd, our current district superintendent, to help facilitate a conversation among those component districts. It's not about going outside that.
Okay.
It's within the region only. So it was really a tool developed to help move that conversation forward, especially in areas where it wasn't happening.
Okay, so we're not exactly sure what they're going to do with the data, but hopefully it's more for inspiration of other groups who may not have their own background as we do.
It's not hopefully, it
It's
is.
going to be,
It is.
okay.
It's a way to facilitate the conversation as to how do we partner to help kids. That's its purpose.
So I
There's
guess-
no other way around it. There wasn't a mandate that you're going to create regional high schools, none of that. This was a way to facilitate the conversations in the region, bring all the partners together and look at what are ways in which we can help. So when you have large districts and small districts, there are things that large districts can do that small districts can't. And so are there opportunities where we can support each other, where school A is able to offer advanced photography or AP biology, but school B is offering AP calculus? And is there a way for students in both schools to receive benefits from that? And so it's looking for those creative ways to benefit kids in that partnership role.
So I guess my last thing would be, if this is optional, what's your opinion on the value added for us as a district versus the time and effort that your team has to put in to prepare such a report?
It's done.
No, I know for this year, but I'm thinking beyond, so you said it was but if we look at continuous years, I'm wondering what you're thinking about the annual reevaluation, the effort put in, and how much value you're gonna get out of that.
There's no reason that anyone, in my opinion, should not be participating in this regional conversation if kids are first and foremost.
I mean, isn't it kind of natural for us because we've been doing it? So I understand we had
More just accounting and documenting what we already did.
I mean, really, when you talk about it, I feel fortunate to work with the superintendents in this region. We communicate with each other, I would say weekly, if not daily, in a lot of cases. We are constantly looking for ways to help and support each other and students. We see our work as a collective. There's no competition amongst. It's really about how do we do this together. If something's not going so well for one, how do we chip in and help out? And that's just not at the superintendent level. I feel like that is at every level. Amanda goes to curriculum and instruction meetings. I think she would say the same thing about those meetings with curriculum and instruction administrators from around the county. There's a lot of natural procedures that have already been put in place for a long time that has facilitated this work.
Ray, also, with the superintendents do that, but it's also transportation, buildings and grounds, and food service. I know
Everything.
they meet once a month to come up with ways maybe to borrow equipment, save money that way.
Yep.
During COVID, it was a huge thing, because the state didn't give a lot of guidance on how to do different things, and everybody had different ideas, so.
Yeah.
It's all different levels, and this area has always done that
Yeah.
for years, as far as getting together with this group.
I guess that's my question, though. It's, from what I'm hearing, we were already doing this, and we're doing it effectively. And you've given examples of several people across the team who are already doing it. So I guess why are we opting in to state oversight reporting?
But it's not state
When we were
oversight.
already doing these things and don't need the state to be involved in it because we were already doing it. I guess I feel like I'm missing a piece here.
So it's not state oversight. It's really what they did is they created a structure to look at things a little bit more deeply. Like, had that tool come out, would we have asked ourselves some of these questions and taken some of the steps that we did? I don't know that we would have, or at least not in the time frame that we did. This forced us to look internally, have some additional conversations, and brought the group, so I'm just going to say the superintendent's group, we come together and look at that information very closely. Last week, we brought all of our answers to that tool together without the state and started looking at where are the commonalities, where are the strengths, where are the weaknesses. It was an excellent tool. Sometimes, a state agency isn't coming to try to say, I want to take control of this, because that's not what New York State is trying to do. It was simply a way for them to try to help facilitate this conversation in a uniform manner across the state. The one thing that I have to emphasize to you is that what is interesting about Oswego and that partnership and that willingness to always work together, there are areas of the state where regions and school districts feel like they are in direct competition with each other. A zero-sum game. Like it is a very, very different environment. We don't live in that environment. We don't work in that level of environment. So I think it lands on us a little bit differently. And so I think work like this is excellent. I think sometimes, as much as I sometimes might be frustrated by some process, being forced to go through the process, I think was also a very reflective process that brought us forward. And that's why I am 100% supportive of following this process, submitting the tool. Like I said, I already submitted it. But we can always submit that letter up to January 15th to not participate. But like I said, I don't believe there's any reason why a district should not. So I'm going to ask the board now, are you comfortable with us participating as stated?
Yep.
Great. Then that's what we'll do. And I can always talk more as the process unfolds. I'll bring additional updates to the board as we have more conversations. I'll absolutely bring more back to you to provide additional feedback. Last couple of just real kind of minor things. Capital outlay project finalized. We've got state at approval. Bid documents went out today. We have bid opening actually scheduled for December 30th. So hopefully by our next meeting, you'll be actually approving a bid so that we can start that work at Riley. That's the door project. Second, we had our kickoff meeting with our teachers, our librarians specifically, our tech teachers, and then also Amy Gotkin over at the middle school. Just some of those specific spaces with the design team, King and the engineers, because this is the time for the 2024 project where we're really starting to do a lot of that initial design work. Our tech teachers have actually already made some visits to other districts that have had some updated work. I know our librarian, Gina, is going to be doing the same. So we're looking for ways to allow them to also see other work. So that might inspire them as to what they're hopeful for as we begin to refine those designs. Newsletters should have hit everyone's mailboxes last week, so hopefully you got yours. And if you just need a little cheer in your life, please come out pretty much any day of the week, the next couple of weeks, and come to the theater because there will be a concert. Because there are concerts every day. There's one at 7 o'clock today, KPS. Lots of wonderful work. So anyone in the community, I hope you'll take an hour or two out of your day and come and watch those kids because it's great work. And I think that's it.
Great. Thank you very much. Committee discussions, audit. David, do we have anything?
Nothing.
Not today. Community relations. Nope, we're good. Facilities.
We're good.
We're good. Policy.
Just a reminder, we have a meeting on Friday, and to review your packet from 2 months ago that was really, really thick.
I feel
so
targeted.
that we can talk
I
about
feel
it.
targeted.
Okay, thank you. Visitation.
We didn't meet, we're going to Fitchie Park School next Friday, so nothing since.
Wonderful. All right, we're to our consent agenda. There are only 2 items, so if I can have a motion for A and B of the consent agenda, please.
Make the motion.
Thank you, David. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Sean. Any discussion? Haven't heard none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Personnel, we're going to have this a bit piecemeal here today. We'll start with staff recommendation A, please. So if I can have a motion for personnel item A.
I'll move.
Thank you, Kristen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Any discussion?
I just want to clarify, he's going to be the interim director, plus he's also doing the search for the new person?
Correct.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. We're going to do a couple support staff retirements. So item B, if I can have a motion, please.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Julie. Any discussion?
Just congratulations on retirement to Christine Chalifo and Karen Kelly, and for their almost 20 years apiece of service to the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next, we're going to do C and D together. So if I can have a motion for C and D.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, David. Is there a second? Thank you, Sean. Any discussion on professional staff recommendations, C and D? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. We have a singular item here. Item E is a professional staff recommendation. If I can have a motion for item E, please.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you,
I'll
Julie.
second.
Thank you, Kristen. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining?
Abstain.
There you go. All right, next up we have F and G, which is a regular substitute recommendation and a support staff recommendation. If I can have a motion for F and G, please.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Sean. Is there a second?
I'll,
Thank you, Sean. Any discussion on F and G? Okay, all those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next, we're to H. So if I can have a motion for support staff recommendation, item H.
I'll make the motion. Okay.
Thank you, Kristen. We'll go Tom with a second. Any discussion on H? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining?
Abstain.
Thank you, David. All right, we can group the rest together. So this would be items I through O. So if I can have a motion, please, for items I through O.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, David. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Finance, we're going to start with items A and B, which is a donation and a contract. So if I can have a motion for items A and B, please.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Julie. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Any discussion on A and B under finance? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Item C, we're going to do as a singular item. This is a contract between us and C&S Engineering's for the management service related to the 2024 capital improvement project.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Sean. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, David. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is there anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, it's unanimous. All right, items, we're going to group the rest, so this is going to be a bit long one. Items D through N, David through Nancy. So if there's a motion for D through N under finance, please.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Julie. Any discussion on items D through N?
I'd just like to thank Exelon and also Ladies Auxiliary from the Elks for those donations and any other donations that I may be missing.
Thank you, Tom. Anybody else? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Our student representative is out for the year, or for the evening. Sorry, excuse me. So we are under items from the board. Do any board members have any items for this evening?
I do.
Yes.
I just wanted to give a shout out to KPS parent and community member Rose Favada for a holiday giving project that she spearheads. And I noticed that she got some, if not all, of the classrooms at KPS to participate in spreading holiday cheer to people who, for whatever reasons, weren't going to be getting Christmas presents. And they filled out some forms and gave ideas of things they might like. And she reached out to the community, but also got KPS to work with her. I think it taught the students a great lesson, and I want to thank Rose, one, for having that great idea, and two, for bringing it to our students at KPS.
Great. Thank you, Kristen. Any other board members?
Yeah, I'd just like to mention appreciation for Cindy. I know Ian and Mr. Colucci were involved. The environment, last night there was first basketball. I've been around basketball for a lot of years in the school district. Last night the environment was quite a bit different than in years past, and I know that Cindy, when she met with the parents at the parent meeting, said that we were gonna, she was gonna try. Ray said it, that our students should have a better experience when they go and cheer on their fellow, their peers and their students, student athletes. So that happened last night, and that hasn't been the case for quite a few years for boys basketball. So it was good to see that we allowed that to happen. It was positive. There wasn't anything negative. And also some extra work was put into the coordination of getting the visiting team's parents and their fans kind of separate from the Oswego fans. And in years past, that having them all on one side, when everybody's cheering and against one another, the conflict arose, and it was just uncomfortable. And so having them separated, I think that helped the whole environment last night. So I know that they took that feedback and they made some changes, and I certainly appreciate it as a board member and a parent and a fan. So thank you.
Thanks, Sean. John?
The girls' basketball hoop shoot for the holidays is this week. They shoot free throws. Every player shoots free throws. They can raise money that way, or can just donate. And then the team gets together, and it's next Saturday, and they go shopping, and they provide presents for like 22 families last year. They raised thousands of dollars. It's actually a great cause. They're ringing the bell at Walmart this Saturday, and Coach Lavner and Coach Reno do a lot for the community around the holiday time, and it's a great program that they got going on there, both those coaches.
I have one more thing. The acknowledgements that you guys read off, that didn't used to happen, years ago, and that never gets old. So when you guys read through those slides and everybody who contributes to that, I don't think that should go stale on us. I think that makes us look different, and that we're bringing all the good stuff that's happening within our district. And as Kristen was reading in them tonight, I just wanted to make the point that it's not getting old. Like, this is great stuff, and I hope a lot of people are hearing what's going on in our district. So.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, yes, everything that I've been seeing with our district and our students and the good that they've been doing during this holiday season. I was talking to Mike as we came in, like, what's in the news? And he said, not much, it's quiet, so, other than budget stuff. And I said, well, because everything's good this time of year, and our students really reflect that. So, but I also wanted to just say, and I mentioned this to all of you, I thought the newsletter, the community newsletter, was fabulous. And it just gave me a little bit of excitement knowing that every home received that newsletter, because it really was all the pictures, obviously pictures tell 1,000 words or 1,000 stories to them, but it was beautifully done, and it was really nice to see what our students are doing. And I think that if you're a community member and you don't have a student in the district, that newsletter really tells some great stories. So great job, everyone involved in that.
I just wanted to say, I believe, Bob, is this your last night with us? It is. I would just to commend you and thank you for your years here. I appreciate it greatly and wish you well. And it seems like just yesterday you were over there near a mic sitting, and I was asking about kinesiology. And yeah, and so thank you so much for all your years here, and I wish you well, and Merry Christmas.
Any other board members? Okay. There will be a need for an executive session this evening for the purposes of collective negotiations pursuant Article 14 of the Civil Service Law and the medical, financial, credit, employment history of a particular person or corporation. And there will be a need for a vote after. So if I can have a motion to move to executive, please.
Make the motion.
Thank you, David. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.